Now, who do we wait for?
The Sicilians, Vascari, Lacati, and Gasmarecci.
Dope, man. Hi there, my name's Chris. I make videos for the Hidden Fortress YouTube channel. You may remember me from such roles as Guy Trapped in a Room with a Video Game Losing His Mind, Guy Trapped in a Room with a Video Game Losing His Mind, and Guy Trapped in a Room with a Video Game Losing His Mind, and Coke Wizard. I'm about to make that shit right there disappear. Abracadabra, bitch. We've got another viewer request, this time from good old Vid Kidz. Vid Kidz asked me about my gaming hardware, monitor, stick, graphics card, ... and why. You got it, buddy. So this is a video I kind of wanted to make a while ago, but didn't. I don't want to get too far into the weeds about the shit I own, but I'll tell you a little bit about my philosophy on gaming hardware and some of the shit I own. And this is all just my personal opinion about stuff that is totally trivial. It's just games. There is no right way or wrong way to play games as long as you're having some fun. I've been what people consider a retro gamer for a long time, and I kinda don't like the word gamer. Basically, I never got rid of my NES I got when I was 7 years old back in 1853. That's actually my actual NES right there. And my Super Nintendo, Genesis, Sega Saturn, you get the point. There was a time when I was very young and I stopped selling or trading my old games to get new games, even when Final Fantasy VII came out. I remember being in an electronics boutique in the Sherman Oaks Galleria in LA to get Final Fantasy VII, and I also picked up Wizards and Warriors and Bionic Commando for the NES because those are games I like and they were in the bargain bin for very cheap. Back then, there wasn't like a wild fervor for old games. It was more casual collecting. Later, I found myself at the swap meet at 5 a.m. hunting for games every weekend, and boy, those were good times. The good old days of game collecting, man. The bad days, the blood for blood and by the gallon days, man. Actually, it was really fucking nerdy, to be honest with you. That's really all it was. Now, back then, emulation wasn't as good as it is now, and there was a time when current TVs weren't actually great for retro gaming at all. Reason being, latency and lack of scan lines, shitty picture quality. You know the deal. And so luckily I was pretty quick to snag a massive Sony Trinitron. I was able to get it for $0. A friend of mine had it in his garage and he said, and I quote, "You can have it for free if you get it the fuck out of here." And so I did, by myself, because I'm an insane person. We all know and understand the reasons for wanting a CRT, the zero latency and the scan lines essentially. The old analog CRTs do not have any latency that is worth mentioning or even measuring in regards to playing video games. I'm definitely what I consider to be a purist when it comes to games and certainly movies. However, in the realm of games, some things have changed. In my game room I have two setups actually, an analog CRT setup and a modern setup. I used to be all about real hardware for old games, CRTs, beginning, middle, and end of it. That was just the deal. And then there were flash cards. And I remember the flash card I finally broke down and got was a Sega Genesis flash card, specifically because I wanted to play Grindstormer. Suddenly there was this device I could put in an actual Genesis and play the game on real hardware exactly as it was without having to buy the game. It was glorious. It was right about this time when I stopped hunting for games. You see, I never really just wanted the games to sit on a shelf to look cool. I really wanted to play them. For example, I own Hagane for the Super Famicom because I wanted to play it. The Japanese import in this case was only like 20 bucks. At the time, when the North American cart was like $4, dude. My Super Nintendo is piss yellow, but it works perfectly and produces an excellent picture. I don't care what the console looks like as long as it works. Also, speaking of all this shit here, most of this shit is S-video, not RGB. And S-video on a nice TV looks fucking amazing. Fuck, where was I? Oh yeah, FPGA. So even with flash carts, I was still like a real hardware snob. But then I got a hold of the analog Super NT. And I had a modern TV at that point with very low latency, and boy, things changed. And then there was essentially a cavalcade of FPGA products that came out for playing old video games. We now have optical drive emulators, and even flash cards for the Neo Geo. And yes, I own 2 Neo Geo MVS flash cards. Because I'm filling the hole where my soul was. The HAS Supergun has made it super easy to run PCBs via S-Video or RGB or pretty much whatever you want. And then there's the Mr. FPGA project. In my humble opinion, please don't be upset with me, if all you care about is playing these games, the Mr. shut it down. In fact, I will go so far as to say, you don't even need all this shit and all of this shit at all. If you own a Mr. and a nice panel and a USB controller of your choice, you're good to go. You can play so much shit totally accurate that you will never play all the good shit fully in your lifetime, which is kind of sad if you think about it. We're all dying. Anyway, now I'm going to say something about the upscaler. Everybody knows about this thing. I was not going to buy one. It was actually given to me as a gift. I'm a very, very lucky guy. I'm not going to make a commercial for this thing, but the scan lines this thing produces on a UHD panel are amazing. With all this shit combined, more and more I'm playing on my modern TV these days. I still love CRTs. I still like to use the CRTs. I like all this shit. It brings me joy. But more and more, you just don't need it. In fact, I'm fucking content as is. Right now, I'm not interested in any more new products created to play old games. Unless maybe there's like, maybe an Atomus Wave FPGA, like a Sammy FPGA would be pretty neat. Those games probably all emulate really well. Oh, and okay, this mini PC is great. I have this in my modern setup in my game room. It can capture UHD even though my workflow is HD, and it's great for emulation and some PC games. In my opinion, whether you're using ShmutMame, RetroArch, ShmutBarge, fucking FarmersOnly.com, whatever the fuck, you can now emulate so many arcade games really, really well. In fact, I could probably go a year with this mini PC, a Dodonpachi ROM, and this TV, and I would totally be content. I don't remember exactly what's in this mini PC, I just know it's AMD Ryzen stuff. And since you asked, the TV in my game room is a Samsung QLED. It looks great, it's got a super low latency, there will probably never be image retention. I know OLEDs are better, I have one in my living room, but I use it only to watch quality films.
Hi, I'm Tammy Joe, and I'm shooting the Ingram M10, or the MAC-10. This gun is one of the most well-known machine guns in the world, not only because it has been featured in numerous Hollywood movies, but also because of its broad underworld popularity. The MAC-10 is the weapon of choice because of its concealability.
I also have a modern gaming rig in my living room with an RTX 3080 Ti and an Intel CPU. I can't remember right now what it is, actually. Anyway, the latency is now so low with new panels that I think it doesn't even matter anymore. Every like shmup clear I've gotten has been on a modern panel, and if you can do that shit on a new panel, trust me, it's fast enough for 99% of us. I did the math once, and I think my entire modern setup tacks on like a single frame of latency, which in my opinion isn't going to make or break you in the big picture, really. In fact, once I started to play these games like a crazy person, I asked around to some other shmup players, and most people just use emulation in modern panels. Oh, that reminds me. Sometimes I snoop around on my subscribers' channels like a creep. I have a subscriber named Sorrow. He just uploaded a fucking R-Type 2 no miss to his channel, which trips me the fuck out. This is fucking barbaric, dude. Shout out to Sorrow. Link in my description. Congrats, dude. R-Type 2 is a vicious fucking game. I also have friends who only play games on PCBs and in cabinets with, like, you know, CRTs. And that's totally fucking badass. There's no wrong way, in my opinion, unless, of course, you let the hardware get in the way of having fun. I know it can become a part-time job, like just recapping shit, modding shit, setting shit up. I just want to play the games now. I don't want to have to recap another one of these. Oh, the joystick. Okay, so I got my first clear with this old Hori Arcade Pro that I modded years ago with Sanwa parts. Now, now I use a Panzer IV, I think. The reason I got the Panzer is because with the Brooks fight board, there's damn near no latency. It works almost with every USB thing you can think of. And the big thing, though, was the DB15 connector for my super guns. I know Vid Kidz and other guys and gals are Seimitsu people, or maybe you're into the hitbox controllers or D-pad. But this is the stick that I use most of the time, and it's got a Sanwa JLX in it and Sanwa buttons. If I'm playing console games, I usually use the console's controller or a controller that's as close to the controller that the console would have. And that's it. That's kind of my thing. What's interesting is that I used to be like a hardcore, real hardware console snob, CRTs only for retro gaming, all that shit. But as soon as I started actually playing the STGs for like actual clears, and because of like FPGA and like really good ports that are out there, that all kind of went out the window, honestly, now. And more I see myself reaching for the modern setup, reaching for FPGA consoles and flash cards, honestly.